Hey, my honeys. So today we're going to learn how to French braid. These are feed-in braids. We're going to try to see if we can master this gripping. The angle is hopefully complementary to the fact that this is the angle you would see it while you're braiding. Now you want to put this shine jam all around your braid. After you've parted it and everything, comb that product through as far as it would stretch. It may not go all the way to the ends, but you may not care about that at the beginning because you're just more focused with the scalp. So you just comb it through. Make sure all your hair is detangled, combed out. No messiness of it, just straight hair. That's the little piece that you would start with. You part it out, get it mapped out. You want to be as neat as possible with this process. So the bare minimum at the hairline is what you will grab. You're going to take your smallest piece of synthetic hair and swoop all the natural hair in there. You're doing your crossover. Keeping all strands tucked. There go your crossover. The smallest piece of hair next up, you grab it from the back of your hands. Everything that's behind your hands is what you will be grabbing on. All strands together, start your crossover. That finger needs to extend out to grab everything behind the back of those fingers. Itty bitty pieces to grab. Now every time you do a crossover, you want to make sure you're clearing your hair out. So dragging your fingers through all 3 strands of hair to make sure it's nice, neat, and clean. You see that mess of hair right there? Before you go into the crossover, you're going to straighten all that out. Proceed to cross over. So you're just crossing over left, right, left, right. Once you get over to the left, you grab a little baby piece of hair. Once you swing back to the right, you grab a little baby piece of hair. But now we're going to start adding in hair. So I think I did about 3 crossovers, maybe even 4. I added just a small bit of hair right between that index and that thumb. Grabbing just a small piece of hair. Crossover. You're going to add a piece of hair after every crossover until you get the desired size of the feeder braid. But once you start adding, it's a go from there. Just small pieces, guys. Small pieces. Once you go into that crossover, you're not releasing any hair from those fingers. That's how it become loose and all scraggly. You want to keep those fingers taut. You clear your hair. Now before you go into the crossover, you want to make sure you have everything grabbed, gripped, ready, set, go. So once you add that hair, you're not still trying to fluctuate and fix everything. You're just smooth going. That index finger is pretty loosey. The whole tip of it is very flexible, ready, set, go. But everything behind the tip of that finger is holding the rest of the hair. So you don't want to let go of the hair. You want to use and access every joint in those fingers. Okay? Use it. If you don't use it, you lose it. So that's just how I get that braid taut. The little piece of hair taut in my finger. So I could stick it in there and proceed with my crossover. I'm clearing all that hair out. I'm going on over. Now y'all remember I'm right-handed, so I'm working everything from my right hand into the left. It almost looked like a stitch braid because that's how small of the pieces that you would be grabbing. So right there, I just swooped that hair up with my index finger. Or you can grab a piece out. But I don't always do that. I don't always go in and just grab a piece. Like right there, I went in, grabbed a piece. You know, the further you go back, the more hair you have to manage and straighten out and grab. So it may be simpler to just grab a piece. Or if you got long fingers like me, just swoop it on in there and grab that little piece out. But you know, during your crossover, your fingers are bumping and jumping with each other. So you don't want to lose sight of holding your braid in place. Now you see, as the more you go down, the more hair you add, that braid is gradually getting bigger. You could kind of get an eye and say, okay, that's as big as I want it, because all that at the neck of the braid, that's weight. So that's all that hair that you added at the top is weight. So all of that weight together would still make a gradually bigger braid without you continuing to add. Because if you continue to add and you get down to the neck, you won't be able to actually grip as good as you would with just the weight from the hair and the added hair from the beginning of the braid. So her hair is way thicker down there because it's now including the ends. So I didn't have to add any more hair because I'm going to let that do its job. I'm going to just continue to braid down, gripping that hair, bringing that finger out, grabbing everything from those sides. At this point, you will have a lot of her natural hair between your fingers at this point. You want to go ahead and get your jam and make sure you add it to those because they would stick out and make the braid look a mess when that client gets in the shower and all of that. Now right here, I have no hair left really to grip on her scalp, but I'm going to continue to braid down as if there was. And I'm going to make sure I clear this. Every time I do a crossover, I'm running my fingers through clearing it. Because if you get tangled up, it could mess up the whole braid. You'll be starting over somewhere. So right here, I'm going to flip it so that my fingers are now braiding under. So it would just go quicker. But you want to add your jam. Make sure your hair is nice and smooth in them braids. You want to grip them braids, grip her hair, and smooth it down into those braids. You're going to flip it. And then you're going to take a different approach. Tuck that piece all the way to the back if need be. Just swing it around to the back. Cover it up with the synthetic hair. That's the most important part of the braid. Because those little hairs get to sticking out. It make them look older before it's even time. You can even take a comb to it and comb it as you go. Make sure it's combed out, straight, tucked off. Now you proceed to just braid. You see how that's laying flat and good? It's not bumped up because I continue to braid down that neck. And there was no hair there, but I just kept on going because at that point it made me have a flat foundation in the back. When your braid is complete, honey, you go ahead and you take the back of that comb and you just swoop up any little scraggly hairs that you probably didn't grip, or even wrinkles. You know, you want to get all the wrinkles out. And then you'll have a nice, perfect gripped braid. You can see each little piece that I gripped. Now we're going to take out baby hair. She wants baby hair, so you'll get them on out the way. And when you get to that back, make sure you have enough room for all your braids. So now pretty much you got your first braid. You can map out how many braids and how much space back there that you will need. But keep in mind of that, so you don't have no slanted leaning braids. This is the process that you would do for each braid. So you're going to part it, and you're going to put that jam on that braid as if you're greasing the scalp. That's the key to a perfect straight part, okay? As straight as you can get it. Everybody ain't perfect. So this is an example of how I break that hair down for each braid. There's not really a number to how many pieces I'm using. I just know I wanted to match up with the first braid at this point. So I am going to take out as many pieces that chair would hold, starting from, big as to small. So when you say big, you may not use every piece on that chair up until the big one. Okay, so make it as big as need be or whatever, but gradually get smaller, smaller, smaller. Your exact smaller piece, as you can see, the little bit of pieces that I'm grabbing as I'm getting smaller and smaller. So that's like one of the last pieces. It just got gradually super small. So that's just how you're going to be starting your braid, with a blind eye, basically, on the pieces. And that's just how they look. So it went from smallest to biggest. We don't know if we're going to even use every piece there, but at least you can get it to match up to the size of the first braid, okay? And now I got my little jam on my part. She's greased up. But when it comes to, remember I was saying in the last video, you want to do a clean swipe. And then boom. Okay. Now that's only one section of that part. We got the whole part to do. I started there. If you have any type of mess ups, you would rather be in the back than the front. You wouldn't want it to be anywhere, but it happened. So I started from about the top of her head in the middle, and now I'm going down. That was 2 clean swipes that I did to get that braid, get that part like that. Now I may need to go in and still fix the little tools and fuse, but for the most part, it's a pretty clean swipe. So fixing the tools and fuse, it would not be a hassle. Now, if you mess up tremendously on this part trying to get a clean swipe and it just don't work, it be seeming complicated to get it back right from the first swipe for some reason for me, okay? It may not be for everybody, but then I go try to add more product and it still would be like, oh, I can't get it. So I just try to go in right here with a clean swipe and connect the dots from the beginning to where I first started. Clean swipe. So take your time. You ain't got to go fast. Just go in there and, just start off slow and work your way back until you connect them dots. And boom, hopefully that's the clean swipe. You may have to go in and get some tools and fuse, but at least it's not a bunch of it. So now you want to just comb your hairs, everything out the way. The jam will hold it down for the most part. But we know that over time with this jam, the longer you take to hurry up and do your braid, that's why you want to make sure all your pieces is laid out. Everything is ready, set, go. Because once you finish that part, honey, it is time to get this braid started. Because the longer that jam sits, it just really turns into a grease. Okay? So I'm adding more on there. So therefore, when I go in to do my crossovers and grab my little pieces of hair, it will give it that little sleek effect versus any curly hairs hanging out. I'm going to comb all that through. as much as I can. Now, she has nice, good, thick hair, so, you know, I pretty much got her scalpage together. But them ends, honey, if you don't get the ends together as well, then it's going to do nothing but be nappy in them braids, okay? Looking crazy. So, y'all know this is my stuff. I'm going to leave it down in the description. I'm going to leave everything I'm using down in the description, okay? But that's my little castor oil spray at that. But you see, it still come out a little thicky. It ain't just like a spray. It's like a conditioner. So I just mainly used it on the ends to kind of help me to comb through it, because that little comb ain't gonna do it, okay? You're gonna pull hair out. So basically, once I get those ends all combed out, I'm gonna get that product through them ends, and then I'm gonna take that wig brush, okay? Wig brush gets all the kinks, okay? All the kinks. And this is for any type of hair, guys. Take my advice for any type of hair, because we all have kinks. We all have this. We all have that, okay? So hair is hair. Mine's just more curlier. Yours is more straighter, however. But that wig brush does its thing, honey, for that hair. To get all of it, if you want it all together in one wig brush. So anywho, your purpose at this point is to be able to take that little comb and be able to stroke through your whole hair without a kink, okay? So that conditioner and the wig brush help me with that, okay? If your ends are softened, then you can tuck the hair better and just make it look more blended. So now it's time. It's time. I'm putting that product at the top, okay? Do not get discouraged and think that it's going to be too slippery. I'm not going to be able to grip it. For some reason, this product actually helps with gripping, okay? I used to be scared, y'all. Come on now. Everybody done been there, done that now. I can definitely tell you guys. But after adding the product and seeing how it's doing for me, I'm like, yeah, it's actually helping me to grip it, you know, and stay neat at that. So it's definitely a necessity. But you want to outline your whole braid with it. And then you want to take your smallest little piece of hair that you have, okay? You break that down in two. And then you grip it as if you're gripping your hair for a crossover. You just pull it all together. That automatically makes 3 pieces. So you grab your little baby piece of hair. This is the beginning of the braid. So the bare minimum, guys, without snatching that scalp out. The bare minimum. You go over with your crossover. Swoop all that hair together. That jam, that's what that's for. Bring it all complete to one. You're not even really grabbing hair right at that little piece that you grab yet. You want to make sure you do a crossover with it and then get to going to grab hair, because then it'll just loosen up. So now I'm going to start adding. You do about 2 to 3 crossovers. And then you start adding hair. Because if you wait too late, you're just going to have a little baby skinny braid that's going to look like it just got fat overnight. So you want to definitely almost immediately start adding the hair after every crossover. You see them fingers is getting tangled, but you don't lose sight of the hair, okay? Don't never let loose of what you have. that index finger is the one that's going to be tearing through the hair to get to the other side of the jungle, okay? So you make sure that finger is freely going. Here we go. And it's just up into that joint, actually, because everything after the joint is holding the rest of the hair. So you see my little finger is bent, but that's the only part that I'm using flexibility with to do all the work. All the other fingers are working. See, it's grabbing and twirling, but that index finger is the one piercing through the jungle, making those connections, gripping them little pieces, okay? My finger's so big, I don't have to always grab a piece. I could just swoop it with my long finger, okay? But it's okay, just grab the piece. If you can't just swoop it like that, just grab a piece. That's gonna make it neater anyway, okay? You don't wanna even rush through this. You just wanna grab the hair, keep your focused on all the hair that you have. Check your braid as you go, guys. At this point, I am at the bottom of the braid, so I'm not adding any more hair. I am going to braid down that neck as if I'm still gripping hair, and I may not be. But you want that braid to lay as flat to the neck as possible. And make sure you have your client or your daughter have their head down as far as possible, because the minute that their neck is not extended fully, when you're done with that braid and they go to look around and look up, that's why their neck be so tight and they can barely move their neck, and then they looking like they don't have a neck, okay? Because you have to stretch that out. Stretch it on out, so therefore it won't be too tight for them, and then they be ready to take them out, because that's very uncomfortable. At this point, we are going to smooth that hair and blend it in with the synthetic hair with our jam. And then we're going to flip, okay? We're flipping it so that therefore we can just braid smoothly and quicker. And also at this point, you can look and see how long your braid is actually going to hang. So if it looks like it's going to be shorter than the one before, you would add another piece of hair, synthetic hair right there, so that therefore you will be able to keep it the same length or close to it. But I don't flip that braid right there at that point, so I'm gonna proceed to smooth that hair out. Y'all know them thumbs be besties, okay? You keep them as close as possible. And then you just proceed to braid. But at that point, you could take a whole clump of jam in your fingers and just go ahead and braid. And therefore, it's gonna hit all 3 strands and help you to keep that hair blended. This helps to lock and load all those little strands that want to be stubborn or however, because once this jam dries, it kind of sits as a spritz and keeps everything in place for some days, you know. So you take the back of that comb and just smooth it and swoop it in. And this paper right here, it's just that wrap paper. It is like the antidote to keeping your edges from turning white. So once you laid your edges, and I use the even edge control, and then I would put a little gorilla snot over that, and then I would lay that paper over it. Once I take that paper off, you know, you let it dry, and boom, it's no white residue from the dang on edge control, because we know we be looking for them edge controls. It's not turning white, but it seems like for some reason once it mixes with your sweat and all of that extra stuff, it does turn white. Now she wanted 4 braids, but you have to take into consideration the shape of your client's hair or even your daughter, and just know that 4 braids may not look right for them. So she ended up getting 5. She still loves it. It looks great. I love it. At the end of the day, guys, we're gonna be braiding before it's over with, okay? So this is it for today, and I will see you guys on the next one. The next one. Come on, y'all, do the dance. The next one. Love you guys. Mwah.